We would be committed to a protracted war against heavy odds.
Like every single leader of every country ever always has plans like this drawn up, contingency plans drawn up for a variety of things. Like the United States probably has plans drawn up for like if, or some kind of thing for like if Puerto Rico tries to fucking rebel. This doesn't prove like a whole ass thing.
In this video, Destiny reacts to Joe Rogan's recent conversation on his podcast with Douglas Murray and Dave Smith. Destiny watches as Douglas Murray and Dave Smith go toe-to-toe over their differing views on Israel-Palestine. With that, let's watch Destiny freak out and go into one of his classic unhinged rants about how Dave Smith spreads misinformation.
Pushback than any one line I've ever heard on the podcast.
Cringe.
There were numerous articles written by historians, numerous shows that covered it. People went through, there were Twitter threads about it. So I don't exactly get your point. Like, there was lots of pushback. If you're saying he should go and debate somebody who's giving him pushback on that, okay, maybe. I also think it's reasonable for him to say, I don't really do debates.
Yeah, I think it's weird to mainstream very fringe views constantly and not give another side.
True.
I think that's weird.
And everybody knows it.
I mean, okay, I think there's a little bit of a contradiction here. You're saying now that these are fringe views, but then you're also saying that these are enormously powerful
No.
views.
There's
so
no
like,
contradiction. Let me clear it up if you think there is. I think there are very fringe views that have become mainstreamed on the right.
But then aren't they not fringe by definition?
Sure, you can play an epistemological game.
No, I'm just saying what's
You do understand the concept, don't you?
That fringe ideas become mainstreamed?
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
Sure.
Thank you for, I like the dare. Just like, why are you being a fucking child? You know what I'm saying, right? Thank you. Yes. Maybe it's just being British. Maybe that's what makes you better. Why are you playing an epistemological game? You said, why are you playing a game with me? You know what I'm saying, right?
So that's it.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure. So you're saying that Joe shouldn't have Daryl Cooper on?
I'm saying
never said that.
Should debate.
That there will have that if you mainstream very, very fringe views, which are easily able to be debunked, if you mainstream them, at some point that view that was so fringe will be what eager, very disconnected, unhappy people are going to start playing with too. Yep. And if these people are such experts in how you see a society go weird, they can look at what is happening to a portion of the right everywhere on this stuff. There is a portion of the right across the West that is playing this
dangerous
very dark game, and they're doing it deliberately, and you can't not be aware of that.
I agree with that. I don't think Daryl Cooper is doing that, but I do agree with your characterization. No, but I think it's a pretty important distinction there.
You're just taking this one statement, and then this where he's trying to joke.
The first words out of Destiny's mouth are so cringe. He uses that term all the time, and I don't think he understands how ironic it is. I mean, just look at him on the screen right now. He's not even saying anything. I'll leave it up to you. Would you describe him as cringe? So this whole argument was over Israel-Palestine, but clearly in this segment there, Douglas Murray is accusing Dave Smith of mainstreaming fringe views. As much as I hate the lies of the mainstream media and the power that they have to influence people's minds, I like Douglas Murray a lot. I like Dave Smith too, but I disagree with Douglas Murray on this one because I'm a free speech absolutist, and my general feeling is, and I genuinely don't know if this is wrong or right, but unless somebody presents a case differently, my opinion is everyone should be able to say whatever they want, platform whoever they want, and I believe that in the end, people will gravitate towards those who tell the truth. Those that constantly spread lies or disinformation, like the mainstream media, even though they had a good run, will wear out their welcome. And I think that's why you're going to see more and more people moving away from mainstream media and more towards getting their news from online platforms. So I think a big contributor of that is we just let the mainstream media has been allowed to talk and talk and talk, and everything they were saying was constantly being disproven. And while it took longer than I thought, I think just by letting them talk, Americans were able to come to the conclusion that these people really aren't to be trusted, at least the bulk of Americans. I'll give another example after this, but let's get back to the video.
Like, that is there's a lot of room for nuance and disagreement with what you just said. You know, in the 20th century, we had 2 world wars. They're the worst thing, objectively speaking, the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of the world. And the Second World War is the biggest bloodbath in human history. And
bring up the Soviet death count and it's always everything but the Holocaust. Okay.
Ended with handing the man who you just mentioned, Joseph Stalin, half of Europe. So listen, if you want to argue, I'm Jewish and of German descent, so like I'm not against the argument that it was the Nazis had to be defeated and that was the most important thing, but there still is just the basic facts that it almost couldn't have gone worse. It was like just a nightmare for civilization. And if people want to look back at that and go, man, was there any other way this could have been handled? Was there any other way? Were there blunders that were made here? Now, personally, what I feel much more comfortable arguing would be that I try to blame everything I can on Woodrow Wilson as much as I can, because also he created the income tax and the Federal Reserve and did so much to damage my country.
Epic, dude.
I think American entry into World War I
libertarian.
was really a disaster. And imposing the Treaty of Versailles on Germany was a disaster. I also think that's kind of fairly mainstream history. Like, that's not a particularly controversial view, that like imposing the Treaty of Versailles on Germany ended up in disaster.
Well, no, except that, as Martin Amis said, the only way to not get to the Treaty of Versailles would be for Germany to win World War I, but yeah.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the Nazis when...
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
Winning the war. Sure. We're talking about, you know... listen, I think that...
But secondly, sorry, I just have to address that fundamental. You say the outcome of World War II and everything that happened in it was the worst thing that's ever happened, and the worst thing imaginable, worst possible outcome, you said.
No. Just about.
You said worst possible outcome. Let me give you a much worse possible outcome.
The Nazis
Hitler wins.
Right, okay, sure.
So it's not the worst possible outcome.
I mean,
that's true.
Listen, but okay, Hitler, yes, okay, I'm not saying you can't dream up a worse outcome. I'm saying what you have...
That's not dreaming up. That's just what my country, Earth, and others went through.
But what did end up happening was 60 million people died, including the Holocaust, and then Joseph Stalin takes half of Europe. So, okay, fine. I'll correct that. There is a worse outcome.
Right.
But that's not a great one.
No, what? Nobody said it was. This is like, there's a very weird argument that you know.
What are you talking about?
This attempt to revision this, and I know why it's happening.
I don't think there's anything that's revisionist.
I think there is. But this attempt to sort of say, look, you know, at the end of World War II, what have we got? Stalin has half of Europe. What was the point? And so on. That's going on. That's going on. And there are people who are feeding it. That argument is very similar. This particular school of, as it were, history is doing something that I've seen happen with American history as well, particularly with Lincoln. Lincoln's an interesting comparison to make with Churchill on this. There are people who will criticize Churchill for mistakes made. Not hard to do. Quite hard not to make mistakes while fighting at a war of total annihilation against your country. People will say, oh, he didn't sort this out in 1945. You know, it's rather like Lincoln. He didn't solve every problem in the world for all time, but he solved a hell of a big problem for his time. And that requires some kind of generosity of spirit and understanding in hindsight, as opposed to, I will find something that he did that I wouldn't have done, because if I'd have been running the British Empire in 1939, I'd have known exactly how to do it, and I'd have known how to hold the whole thing together, and I'd have kept Stalin back, and he'd have been great at Yalta, and... this is...
But I don't think anybody's saying that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is a tendency of like woke left kids to do this, but I don't think that's what certainly not what I'm saying, and I don't think what Daryl's saying. I do also think that one of the bigger, kind of the bigger picture dynamics to all of this is that we have, at least since 9/11, been in a state of perpetual war. And all of these wars have been disasters. They have been so many lies involved in selling all of them. I mean, the whole Iraq war, the whole war in Afghanistan, just lying the whole way through. I mean, I remember literally having conversations with Green Berets in the middle of the war in Afghanistan.
Thank God we can get back to
George W. Bush is telling you that the army we're building up there is really successful. This thing's going to fall in a week without us. And then all through the Obama administration, it's just like lie after lie after lie with disastrous wars. And so this does create a fertile ground for people to say, I wonder if they were lying about all these wars.
Sure. There's a thing that I don't know how to describe this fallacy. This is another advanced fallacy. There's a thing that happens where people are describing, okay, you attack a circumstance and then you say, this is bad, right? And then people will argue for why the circumstance agrees, where they're simultaneously agreeing with you that it is bad, but they also are part of that circumstance. So, for instance, let's say a super easy one. You show up and there's some guy who's beating the shit.
Does anything not trigger destiny? Joe Rogan is literally just having a conversation with both of them and asking questions and saying, hey, what about this? I understand Douglas Murray's argument that you're taking one potential scenario that they drew up and you can't discredit all the good that Churchill did because they drew up a plan however long ago and we don't know what the intent was, blah, 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 blah. But destiny just freaks the F out just by Joe asking questions. He's like, oh my God, here we go. I don't know about you guys. I guess I shouldn't care. It just really irritates me. I mean, this guy thinks everyone besides him is so dumb. All he does is criticize. And he says Joe Rogan's having this conversation in bad faith. Again, how is it bad faith? He just asked a question, dude. Unlike you, real dialogue and debate has to do with understanding the other side's perspective, asking questions. Are they aware of this or that? Your debate style is wait for the other person to stop talking. Don't listen to them because you believe you're smarter than everyone else. And then just start vomiting your talking points all over them at a rate of speed not witnessed in human history until you. And by the way, I really can't stand Destiny's setup here for a reaction video. I mean, I guess it's kind of impressive to be able to do a reaction video and play video games. I don't think I could do it. My brain, I know it probably doesn't sound like it to you guys, but my brain works overtime just trying to get through this. So I guess it's impressive, but there's just so much going on. And he stops at every 13 seconds just to get angry about something. This whole thing just, I'm already not a fan of Destiny. And then his irritating interruptions and watching some stupid video game on the screen that I don't have a clue what it is. Everything's just irritating me about this. Anyway, let's wrap up the video.
Out of every, beating the shit out of every 15-year-old man, child, 25-year-old man he sees in a place, okay? He's beating them all up, and this other guy's beating him up, and they're all beating up these 25-year-old guys. And then you approach one of these guys like, hold on, what's going on here, bro? And the guy's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you guys are beating up every 25-year-old man. That seems kind of weird. And it's like, it is really weird, but you got to understand the circumstances that lead to stuff like this. Like, we saw a 25-year-old guy, kill a woman, and the media tried to deny it, and it was really bad. And you're like, yeah, that was bad for sure. But why are you doing it though? He's like, well, you got to understand the conditions that created it. It's like, I understand that. It's like, yeah, well, so people are probably going to feel this thing. It's like, yes, but why are you describing yourself? Like, you're describing why the belief is irrational. You're saying that the media said or did something bad and has caused people to overreact, but you're part of that overreaction. Do you not understand that you're arguing that a bad environment is cultivating bad ideas while you're propagating the bad ideas? I don't know how to describe this fallacy, but it's incredibly common. And sniveling worm fuck snakes like Dave Smith do this shit all the fucking time, where they're like, well, of course people are saying this, but it's because they're overreacting to the woke left media. It's like, okay, if that's an overreaction, why are you doing it? So you recognize it's a problem. Why are you taking part in it? Hello? It's so fucking annoying.
Obama administration is just like lie after lie after lie with disastrous wars. And so this does create a fertile ground for people to say, I wonder if they were lying about all these wars.
Sure.
See, like he's implying that statement is a little irrational, which it kind of is, right? Just because somebody lies about one thing doesn't mean you can't trust anything they say, or you should disbelieve every single thing, right? But you're doing that. That's what you're part of that group.
Well,
again, I'm not really trying to argue with you about World War II. I'd rather argue about these wars today.
I think the interesting question is whether you're busy watering it.
Yes! 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 Thank you. Yes!
I feel like we came in mid-conversation here, so as always, I don't know what Destiny's freaking out about, but he just explained something for about 45 seconds and then said, I don't know how to explain this phenomenon. Again, after talking about it, I got to tell you, it made me feel a lot better because I would have to watch this a few more times to understand what he's talking about. I don't get why he's upset. As far as the argument between Douglas Murray and Dave Smith, I think Douglas is saying Dave is looking in hindsight and saying, well, if I had been in charge, I could have done better. I don't think Dave's saying that at all. And then I don't think it's an unreasonable point for Dave Smith to say, look at all of the wars in our lifetime and how disastrous, costly, and bloody they've been. And off the top of my head, just speaking for myself, I can't think of anything positive that came out of any of them. So he's saying that can cause people to look back at other wars in the history of our country and scrutinize them further and say, wow, was this going on back then? We're being lied to as much then as we have been in the last few decades. I don't think that's a crazy thing to argue. But again, I think I need to watch the whole debate. But this video is really about Destiny and just how he freaks out over one word. I mean, Dave Smith brought up Iraq, and he's like, oh my God. I'm telling you, I don't know why that would make Destiny freak out. I think he just is a complete narcissist who thinks he's better and smarter than everyone else. And whoever he doesn't like, he just takes the opposite side and tries to act like they're insane for what they're suggesting. But we want to hear from you. What do you guys think about all this? Is Destiny justified in his multiple freakouts during this video? And also, if you're more well-versed on this debate between Douglas Murray and Dave Smith, what are your thoughts on that debate? I'd really like to know. Who do you think came out on top? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.